Hey boo, how are you? So some bookish content coming on.
Y'all!
I want to talk about spooky books, okay? October is here, y'all. I know we didn't think we were going to get here this fast, but we did. So what do we do in October? We read some spooky books. So I want to talk about some spooky books that I have read. Most of these books are books that I read since the last Halloween, but there are like 2 or 3 of them that I've read before and I don't think I've ever talked about in my platform. So I just want to go ahead and start to talk about them. So without further ado, let's talk about it. But if you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Shantae. I do lifestyle things like traveling and exercise, mainly running, and I love to do Bath and Body Works. That is my heart and soul. But I do sprinkle in some bookish content here or there. So let's go ahead and talk about some books. If you're down for those types of things, want to have some fun outside of all the stuff we got going on in the world, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. So let's go ahead and get into these recommendations. I only have a few of them here, so I'll start off talking about the ones I have with me. I do got a little handy dandy list because yeah, Dora taught me something, and I'll read off the things that I have read. As usual, please check your trigger warnings to make sure that you are abreast on what is going on before you read it, because a lot of spooky season books have a lot of trigger warnings that mean different triggers for different people. So I'm not typically into super scary type of books because of the triggers. I don't like a lot of blood. I don't like a lot of deep and heavy psychological type of things. So I don't have a lot of those on my list. Let's get started. So first, I never see anybody talking about this book. I read this one back, I want to say in 2021, and that is Small Favors. And this one is by Erin A. Craig. Y'all, this one busts down. I do think that it is considered a YA book. This book is about a girl who is in a family of beekeepers. And there is this like dark haunted forest behind her village. I don't know what ends up happening, but long story short, some monstrous creatures come out of the woods and crazy stuff starts happening. This was my first introduction to this author, and I felt like she wrote this story so beautifully. I loved how she continued on with the theme of beekeeping in the book. I loved how I just felt grossed out and I felt weird while reading it, but I was still connected to the character. That is what I typically don't like about most thriller or horror books, is that element of being connected to the character is not there. I need that as a reader. So the fact that it was present here in this story, I was really digging it. Next is a Tiffany D. Jackson book. What could we talk about without talking about a Tiffany D. Jackson book? The first one is White Smoke. I want to say she came out with this one in 2023 around April, because I remember I pre-ordered this one. This one is about a girl named Marigold. Her family gets a professional opportunity to move into a different town with all expenses paid for the home, but then she gets to the home and creepy stuff starts happening. I consider this a YA gothic horror because it does have those elements of our MC feeling gaslit, her questioning what's going on. There is tons of mental health rep and things like that. I absolutely advise you to check your trigger warnings for this one as well. Next, I have a Carrie retelling by Tiffany Jackson, and this is The Weight of Blood. And y'all, if you're not familiar with the Carrie story, I wasn't, to be honest. I've never watched it because I didn't grow up watching scary things. But this one is about a girl who attends a high school. She is dealing with a lot of sexism and prejudice, and then she enacts her revenge, and we get multimedia formats to where we get to retell the story is being retold to us from the end to the front, which I love that type of thing. Another book that I read, I didn't give it so much of a high rating, but this one is I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me. And this one is by Jamison Shea, but we love us a Black author, so we like to try to diversify our reads. So this story is about Lorraine. She is a competitive dancer and she embarks on this journey to work towards advancing in her craft. As she does so, she does sell her soul to a dark entity, and we see that overtake her. And y'all, whew, I'm telling you, the creepy element that is in this story was top 10. What I didn't like about it is I didn't really feel like I connected to the character enough to where I liked her. So I don't think that what I didn't like about it was fault of the author. It was more so I really wasn't jiving with our girl. But nonetheless, if you are into spooky season and you want to check out some spooky books, go ahead and check this one out. So the next books I either read from my Kindle or I borrowed from the library. So I'm just going to put pictures of those as I talk about them. The next book I want to recommend is by Brom, and this one is Slewfoot. Slewfoot is a time child. While the audiobook experience is a great experience for you to have, I do implore you to check out or purchase the physical or the ebook, because there are pictures in there that's just really going to drive the story home. So in Slewfoot, we are following our main character as she is from a Puritan society, think the Salem witch trials type time. She ends up getting married and something happens to her husband and she joins forces with a dark entity and boom, she just makes stuff happen. I loved Slewfoot so much. I think that the writing is lyrical. It is beautiful. I was creeped out, y'all. Like, I could not get past how creeped out I felt, and I was just so uneasy in the story, but I could not put it down. I actually was having dreams about Slewfoot, y'all. That's how serious Slewfoot is, but I love it, and I want to say that it's probably one of my top 10 books that I have read so far in 2024. Next is Alone Women. This one is by Victor Lavalle. Woo! This one is also another gothic horror. It is about a woman. All we know in the beginning is that there is this woman running away from a fire of her home. She is toting around a really heavy trunk, and we find out what's in that trunk is scary, y'all. This one is also by a Black author, and I could not believe how disgusting this story was. There was a lot of things that made my stomach upset just reading about it and hearing about it. I did get to connect to the main character, which again, I really love, and I did give that one 5 stars. Check that one out. Next, I want to recommend House of Hollow, and this one is by Krystal Sutherland. This is a story about 3 sisters. I want to say that they are triplets, but I'm not too sure. I did read it a couple years back, so I don't have that fresh of a memory of it. But there was 3 sisters. One of them went missing and she came back super different. So there is an element of a different dimension. We get a lot of gothicness in the atmosphere where there is like a mold and there's like a murky environment and it's cold and it's yucky and aquatic, and y'all, it's just not a feel-good story. Nonetheless, it is an amazing story, and I recommend you pick that one up if you can. Let's talk about The Shadow Sister, and this one is by Lily Meade, another Black author. I read this one, I want to say probably about a year ago. This story is about 2 teenage girls. They are sisters, and the oldest one always gets all the attention, right? So the youngest one is kind of like in the oldest one's shadow, and then boom, the oldest one goes missing. But here's the caveat. She comes back. And she comes back different. Now the youngest one is feeling like she's putting on an act. So as she's feeling like she's putting on this act, she's going deeper and deeper, doing her own investigation. And then she kind of finds out she might not be putting on an act. This may or may not be her. So we follow her as she journeys into figuring out what happened to her sister, who this person is if it's not her sister and what is really going on. Y'all, this one is creepy. I believe I gave this one 4.75. It is atmospheric. We connect with our characters. We have that gaslighting element, and we have this element of just teenagers doing stupid shit. So that's why I couldn't give it a 5-star, because teenagers gonna teenage and they really bother me in books. And I don't even know why I continue to read YA when they bother me so much. Lily Meade did they big one with this story. Next is a book. I want to say I read this one 3 or 4 months ago. I did vlog it if you want to go back to some of my reading vlogs under the bookish playlist. And this one is Midnight Rooms, and this one is by Donyae Cole. Woo, hoo, hoo, hoo. This one is a historical gothic fantasy horror. We are following our main character as she is sold off into marriage into this what seems like nice and decent enough gentleman. Our main character is an orphan who now lives with her aunt and her uncle, and they just got tired of having her there. The biggest reason is because she's mixed and she presents more on the black side, and in this historical town, they're not too friendly with black people. So our MC gets married off so that the uncle can pay off a debt to this man we think is cool. But when they do move into the home that this man has, because the girl like, why he want me? Like, I'm kind of plain, you know, and he wanted the marriage and everything to go fast. So she's like, why does he want me? I'm kind of plain. I'm not all that. Like, what's going on? And long story short, they move into this house, and baby, this house is haunted or something. I don't know. So strange things starts happening to our MC. Strange things start happening in the house. We get this added stuffy element of being in this moldy, creepy ass mansion. And y'all, as the reader, I was just like, so this one had me stumped, because this is when I first started to have to do research on gothic horror, and the fact that in a lot of gothic horror there is a gaslighting element, and I was kind of feeling like I was being taken on a bad trip, like I took a bad gummy or something, because the thought process wasn't cohesive to me. I'm so used to having a thought process with a solid problem solving system, and our main character wasn't able to have that, because she kept having to take a step back to question what really happened, and then having to take another step back to question what really happened, and then the outside and the other people in the house was like, this didn't really happen, this is you. And it was just, it was overwhelming. So as a reader, I did feel overwhelmed with that element, but it is atmospheric in nature. I do believe that this is Donyae Cole's debut, and they did a really good job. So yeah, go ahead and pick that one up. Next is Delicious Monsters, and this one is by Liselle Sambury. This one is also by a BIPOC author. This one is a YA horror thriller fantasy. So this one is about our MC who is with her single mom. They are struggling, having some financial difficulties. Somebody dies and gives them this house that they can live rent free. Mom don't want to do it for some reason, and our MC is like, why don't you want to do it? Why don't you want our life to be good? Like, what's going on? And mom kind of sheltered our MC a lot. So mom didn't want to do it, and then they move in the house and we find out why. So this one was amazing. I did not finish on with the second book in the series, but I will. I checked this one out from the library, and I read it both with my Kindle and listened with my ears, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, y'all, go ahead and pick that one up. Next one isn't super scary. This one is more of a thrillery fantasy, and that one is My Dark Henry by Kalynn Bayron. This one is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde retelling. Add queer, add young adults. That's all I have to say about that. It is a fantasy story, but it has a strong romance plot, and within that plot there are subplots such as the horror element, there is the fantasy element, and then there is this element of a betrayal that happens that is just amazing. This was my first time reading a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, nonetheless, one featuring Black characters and with a queer twist to it. And it was really good. I struggled with it because I felt like when I read it, it left me wanting more. But I'm not going to spoil it because this is a non-spoiler recommendations video. But I just have to let y'all know I really did struggle with that one. But I enjoyed it and I think I gave it about 3 stars. All right, let's talk about Year of the Witching. This one is by Alexis Henderson. I read this one about 4 years ago and there's not like a week that goes by that I don't think about this book. This book has had such a lasting impact. I still haven't read Alexis Henderson's 2 follow-up novels. One of them that came out last week. I do have that one on hold, but I am going to go back and read the one that she had. I'm told that it's similar to The Year of the Witching. So in The Year of the Witching, we are following our main character in a Puritan society. Think of the times during the Salem witch trials. Y'all notice there's a theme here. I love I love historical fantasy. And this one is another historical fantasy horror. Our main character, something happens to our main character, and in that town, she combines with some forces. She combines with some dark forces and tears some shit up. That's all I gotta say. Love it. 5 stars. Next is a book that I talk about to anyone, and that is I, Tituba, Black Witch of Salem, and this is by Marsye Conde. I heard that this book has been out for a while. I'm not even sure how I even got about reading it, but it was probably my first horror that I have read as an adult. This one follows our main character who falls in love, and this is told during the times of enslavement, and she falls in love, and in that enslavement process, her lover is killed, and she enacts revenge, on the way of a witch. And one thing about me, I love a get back story. I love it when a Black queen can get her get back. I love a murderous queen anyway, but especially one that's Black and one that's enslaved. Come on, talk to me. My last recommendation is going to be Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and this one is by Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. And this is a story about our main character. She becomes orphaned and she ends up going to this new school, and people start disappearing around her. And then she has to ask herself, am I in the drama?
I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain?
In her doing that, the other people start to feel like that she's the drama. She's the reason. We follow her through her journey to find out if she is the drama, and if she's not the drama, who or what is the drama. This one was creepy as hell. I did only give this one 3.75 stars. This one was a heck of a read. It was only 400 pages, but the writing was really, really small. And it took me quite a while to listen to it and to read it because I felt like there was some major issues with the author over explaining the environment, because the book didn't warrant an atmospheric read. It's just a dark academia book, and we didn't have to know like what the dresser looked like and all that other stuff. But nonetheless, I truly enjoyed it, and I recommend that you read this one as well. Those are some spooky books that I recommend that you read for the month of October. Have you read any of those books? Will you read any of those books? Let me know what you think. If you have gotten this far, give me a spider in the comments to let me know that you are still rocking with me. Love you. Okay, bye.